Would you please pray with me? Let the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable to you, O Lord, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. So I realized this week the TV nowadays is not good. Well, maybe not that it's so much bad, but just really lacking in quality. Maybe I've kind of known this for a while. I just kind of put it all together this week as I watched something else. But the TV nowadays is kind of lacking in story, deep stories, like dialogue that's powerful and gets your brain thinking. If you do think about it, much of the stuff we watch on TV is not good. And like in our house, we watch kids programming, and that's pretty good stuff. How can you bash Sesame Street? Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. But we watch some sports maybe too, but then we watch this other part of TV that's out right now, it's popular, like the reality TV. Do you guys watch reality TV? Yeah? No, Pastor, you're the only one who ever watches that stuff. We watch stuff like Gator Boys and River Monsters. See the theme there? Those are the shows I like to watch. So You Think You Can Dance, American Idol. Stacy watches a few more sitcom-y kind of shows, like shows that have running storylines. And we just don't watch a whole lot of shows like that anymore. And I figured out why this week. Because I was watching Cheers. Who watched Cheers? Like everyone that's not in the first row here. Cheers, young people, was a show back in, the 70s, 80s about people that hung out in a bar. And it really wasn't about the drinking or anything. It was really just about the crazy storylines, the fun characters. It was a great show. It was incredible. The characters really were great. Storylines were great, but the dialogue, man, great twists and words. So this week I was watching a Cheers episode on Amazon Prime from way back. Remember Coach? Coach, he was like Sam's coach when he played for the Red Sox, and he's a bartender at the bar. Now, Coach is a cool guy. He's an older guy. He has kind of the raspy voice, kind of antsy and moves a lot, and kind of naive, you would say, too, right? That's Coach in the show. Anyway, in this episode, Coach's daughter is coming into town because she wanted to introduce her new fiance to her dad. And so naturally, when Lisa, the daughter, comes in with her fiance to meet everybody at the bar, the guy is just a complete jerk, right? I mean, he's just arrogant. He's loud. No one likes him immediately. He's a suit salesman. He's trying to sell suits to Sam and the other people at the bar. And at one point, the two of them, Lisa and the fiance, they go upstairs to the restaurant part, and they're going to have dinner. And they come back down, or at least he comes down early. And Coach is like, "Hey, where's Lisa?" And he says, "Oh, she's upstairs paying the bill." And Coach is like. So he comes to this moment where he's so mad, and Sam kind of urges on him. He's like, "You need to take Lisa back to the office and talk to her." And so Coach and Lisa go back to the office. And he's like, "You can't marry this guy. He's terrible. He's just no good. He has no respect for you. He's not a good person. He has all these problems. No one out there likes him." And she says, "Yeah, I know. But look at me, Dad. I'm not pretty. I'm not a person that can get a guy. This is the first guy ever that's paid attention to me and been interested in me in my life." And so she has this moment where she's venting, and she finally says to Coach, to Dad, she says, "Beautiful? Daddy, have you been paying attention? You've been saying that I'm beautiful ever since I was a very little girl, but look at me. Not as my father, but like you are looking at me for the first time, and please, try to see me as I really am." And she says this in this moment, and he looks at her, right into her face. There's this pause. And then he finally says, "Oh my God, I didn't realize how much you look like your mother." And shocked, and then the daughter starts to say, Lisa says, "I know, I look exactly like her. And Mom was not comfortable about her beauty." What a cool set of dialogue. My young friends, you 9 right here in the front. Today is your day to say what is important. It is your moment to talk about what is important in your lives. Do not stand here at this lectern that I'm standing at right now when it's your turn, in this church before me, before your sponsors, before your families, and before our dear Lord. Do not stand here and tell us about what someone else thinks is important. This is your affirmation of faith. You are not affirming my faith. You're not affirming Myra's faith. You're not affirming the faith of this church. You are affirming, friends, your faith in just a few minutes. And the faith thing is not easy. I've walked with you young people over these last 2+ years, right? Faith is not easy. In this world, and all of its priorities, it makes faith really difficult. I mean, in fact, all those other priorities, they've kind of got up in our faith business a little bit around here, right? It's tough. School, soccer, hockey, baseball, football, and just a whole ton of other things have been stumbling blocks to us trying to get together and wrestle with our faith, to try to do this stuff together, right? In fact, I'm not sure that we ever had one class or activity together where all of us were all there at the same time. This world is tough. Friends, my young friends, you know what it is for this world to choose for you, around you, other things, to give you different kinds of messages, to tell you faith isn't very beautiful. You know what it is for there to be many stories all circulating around you, your story and all the stories that are around you. You struggle, because I've heard it and seen it with you, trying to figure out which story is yours and which stories fit with your story. So, man, I pray for you young people. I've been praying for you and with you over these last 2+ years, and those will continue because this is tough stuff. Because figuring out this faith thing and how it's going to work in your lives with your stories is going to be tough. Today isn't the end. It's the beginning. And this faith story for you is probably going to be tougher than it was for me. I didn't have nearly the obstacles that you guys have in front of you. But let me do tell you, you need this. And that may be a tough thing to recognize on this day with all those other things in your life. And you need this not as some nice support thing whenever it's convenient. And you don't need this like something you just call upon when bad stuff happens in your life. And it will happen in your life, if it isn't already. But you need this faith thing, this love of God in your life, and this love of community in your life now. And you need it because it changes you. So let me also tell you that there is nothing done today, as I already alluded to. Your faith isn't complete when you stand here and read your faith statement. I hope no one crafted a statement at the end that says, and now I've got it all figured out. I've heard them. You don't say that. Or like, and now I know all of the things about God. That's not going to happen today. It has not happened for me. And if Edna was here, our oldest person that usually comes to church, she would tell you that she doesn't have her faith all figured out either. You don't figure it out. You won't have a full grasp on faith and what God looks like. None of us do. And that's the reason why this community is so important. These people around you, this may come as a shock to you, they're not all sweet and loving and kind and friendly and perfect all the time. I've been here 5 years. Some bad stuff has happened. These people are messed up. They say nasty things sometimes. I say nasty things sometimes. I'm messed up. You're messed up. That's the beauty of being together. And it's in those moments where I see God in this community. And so, young friends, know that you are loved. And not in that pure, perfect sort of, we always get it right sort of way, but in a, we're going to mess it up with you, and beside you, and behind you. And we're all together with you anyway. Know that you are loved by God, and that you are loved by the people sitting behind you. You probably don't know many of them, and they don't know you, but they love you. Seriously, they honestly do love you. They will care for you if you let them. Know that. Hear that, all 9 of you. Know you are loved. Know you are cared for and prayed for. Next week I'm going to give you a packet of prayers. There are a bunch of them. I don't care if you remember all the stories we've talked about over these 2 years. I don't care if you remember the patriarchal lineage of Genesis, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. I don't care if you remember what the books of Numbers and Deuteronomy are about. I don't care if you remember the stories of David and slewing Goliath, or if you remember David and Bathsheba or Solomon. I don't care if you've memorized a certain psalm or have other verses memorized. I don't really care that much that some of you had the opportunity to write the whole small catechism. Yeah. What I do care about, and what I do desperately want you to know, is that you are loved by these people and ultimately by God. A God who invites you to live a life that is unique and special and different from the world around us. Beautiful, Daddy? You've been saying that I'm beautiful ever since I was a very little girl, but look at me. Not as my father, but like you're looking at me for the first time, and please, try to see me as I really am. We get our minds so twisted around what others think, what the world tells us, and it messes us up. It can give us this distorted view of what's important and what isn't. It's hard to figure out what's important. So I'll finish with a story for you young people. A couple months ago, I was talking with another pastor friend of mine, and she was talking about her daughter, who's now maybe 20 years old, a couple years out of high school. And she's a pastor's kid, so she was around the church a lot growing up in her life. And when she graduated high school, she had this goal, this thing she wanted to do. She wanted to go to the military. And that after she discerned that she gave her heart to that. Her last year of high school, it was all what she wanted to do, just go to the military. And she did. She graduated high school and went to the military. And after she was there for just a couple weeks, maybe a month, she had some sort of medical condition pop up, and she couldn't keep doing the military stuff. And they had to discharge her honorably, but she had to lose that dream, all like that. And she had to go back home. And she went home, and my pastor friend says that her daughter there was just in her room almost all the time for a couple weeks. And then after these weeks of kind of being by herself and not seeing her and being worried, and she came down from her room, and she came down in the kitchen one morning and said, Mom, I really want to thank you for dragging me to church all those years you took me to church. I want to say thank you for all those people that loved me and cared for me, and all those stories that they told me and you told me about God always loving me. Because if that wouldn't happen in my life, if I wouldn't have heard those stories, I don't think I would be here this morning with you in the kitchen. So young friends, hear this. You are loved. Amen.